All right, good evening, everyone. Happy New Year to everyone. Let's go ahead and I call this meeting to order. It is 6:02 p.m. Next item on the agenda for the next school year, or for this new year, is if you could go ahead and state if you're here, starting from my right, calling order from my right.
Jessica Ochoa, present.
Carlos Margo, present.
Anita Chavez, present.
Alisa Peña, present.
Rosalba Hernandez, present.
Celso Gomez Jr. present.
Great, we have everyone here. We do have quorum. Next item on the agenda is a Pledge of Allegiance. I ask if you're able to do so, please stand and face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Agenda item number 4 is our public comment section. Just a reminder, if you have signed up for public comment, we ask that you state your name from the podium. And again, you do have 3 minutes unless there's an exception. But tonight we do have someone who has signed up. Ms. Peña, has anyone signed up?
Yes, if we can please have Ms. Blanca Cantu make your way to the podium. Oh, she's there.
Ms. Cantu, it's all yours.
Good evening, Board. My name is Blanca Cantu. I'm the Public Relations and Communications Director for the Joya ISD. And this evening, I'd like to make a board recognition. The state of Texas has officially proclaimed January as School Board Recognition Month. And tonight, we want to take a moment to say thank you. Our board members serve this district with care, responsibility, and deep commitment to our students, staff, and families. Much of their work happens behind the scenes, but the impact of their leadership is felt every day in our classrooms, campuses, and throughout our community. On behalf of La Joya ISD, it is my honor to present this token of appreciation as a small expression of our gratitude. It represents our thanks to your time, your leadership, and your dedication to public education. Your service reminds us that our future is public, and it is stronger because of the leadership you provide to our students and our community. At this time, we would like to invite our school board members to come forward and receive their token of appreciation and join us for a photo. Mr. Julian Alvarez III, Board President. Ms. Anita Chavez, Vice President. Ms. Alisa Peña, Secretary. Mr. Celso Gomez Jr., Board Member. Dr. Rosalba Hernandez, Board Member. Dr. Carlos Margo, Board Member. Ms. Jessica Ochoa, Board Member. And thank you to our district leader, Ms. Dr. Marcy Sorensen. Thank you all for working together to ensure that our district shines bright and is committed to student success. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Blanca. Members of the board, do you have anything to say before we get to the next recognition?
I would like to say it's always been an honor since we started what we're doing here with the whole community and our school board. But it's just awesome to see how we can make a change, make a difference with everybody working together as a team that we are. Thank you, guys.
Well said, Dr. Hernandez. Does anyone else have anything to say? Dr. Marco?
Would like to say thank you to the fellow board members. It's been really great working together. I love the synergy we have. I know we have received a lot of training together. We've bonded, but it's at times I know we disagree with things, which is normal. But at the end, we all agree and work cooperatively. And I look forward to another year. But thanks for the appreciation token.
Yeah, it meant so much. Anyone else? Go ahead.
To second what Dr. Margot said, I feel the same way. We've all had our ups and downs here, but I think it's great that we're able to work together cohesively. And thank you all for taking the time to acknowledge us. And we just try to do the best by you all. We're here just to make sure La Joya ISD is great. And we look forward to being here again. And we also look forward to our campus visits coming up this month. And thank you all for, all the work you do. It's greatly appreciated and it doesn't go unnoticed. Thank you all.
Well said, Ms. Chavez. Anyone else? Dr. Soares?
I just want to take a moment as the superintendent to just say how grateful I am as the superintendent, having the support of a board that allows you to be the superintendent and allows you to do the work that you're here to do. Just focus on student outcomes and really do the right work for children, for schools, for campuses, for our educators, and ultimately our community. It's rare. It really is to have a board that just really lets you do the good work. And so I am so grateful to each and every one of you, all that you give, all that you represent, all that you do, and all that you just are for the community. There's so much time and effort that you put in that people don't see. And so I just really thank you for your guidance, your trust, your mentorship. And I look forward to continuing to work with you to move our district forward. Thank you.
Very welcome. The only thing I'd like to say, and we're very humbled by the recognition, so thank you for that. I know that when this journey started for all of us, sometime back over 2 years almost now, well, over 2 years, we didn't know what to expect, but like Dr. Margot said, throughout this whole process, not only have we been able to bond together as a board, but we've also been able to bond with many of you that are in this room. So we're very fortunate to be working and representing such a great group of people. So thank you. You make this job so much easier for us. So thanks. Seeing that we have no one else, again, thank you very much, Blanca, for the recognition and for that. And we look forward to, like Ms. Chavez said, joining our schools and participating in their activities. Next item on the agenda is, again, staff recognitions. I'm going to ask Dr. Carlos Margo and Vice President Anita Chavez to join, to go ahead and get in the front of the dais. So you guys could proceed to the front of the dais. And then I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to SB. It's all yours, SB.
Yes, sir. Mr. President, Madam Superintendent, and fellow trustees, SB Pearson, your Chief Operations Officer. It is my honor today to call to recognition to the school board and to our district and community, Mr. Rolando Hernandez and our child nutrition leadership. Mr. Hernandez and La Joya ISD Independent School Child Nutrition Department participated in the Region 1 Service Center Child Nutrition Program of South Texas Cooperative. This cooperative collects a vendor service fee of 1 cent per dollar spent to support the administration and operation of the cooperative. After reconciling the 24-25 school year, Region 1 is returning a 100% check of vendor services collected on qualifying USDA foods purchased through the Labatt Food Service. As a result of Mr. Hernandez's leadership and decision, we're able to put $15,127.41 back into servicing our children in a better fashion. So for that, we want to recognize Mr. Hernandez in this check from Region 1.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Congratulations, man.
Congratulations. Congratulations, sir. Good job.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations to you. Congratulations, sir. Thank you, SB. Appreciate that. Item 5.2, recognition of La Joya ISD police officers and security personnel. in honor of National Law Enforcement Day. Chief Sanchez?
Good evening, Mr. President Alvarez, Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Marcia Swenson, and the esteemed board members here today. National Law Enforcement Appreciation Day, which NLEAD, is observed each year on January to recognize and thank law enforcement officers for their service, sacrifice, and unwavering commitment to protecting our community. The day began in 2015 as national efforts to show support for law enforcement and to strengthen relationships between officers and the public they serve. Yesterday, I would like to thank Dr. Swenson and Ms. Miller for the great appreciation luncheon you had for our officers. It was very memorable. It humbled me to see a lot of officers communicate with each other. We don't get to see each other throughout the year. So it was very exciting and very pleasing to see everyone commingling in a luncheon. So I'd like to thank Dr. Swenson and Ms. Miller and her team that made this possible, along with their token that were given. On this day, we proudly recognize and appreciate National Law Enforcement Appreciation Day for the La Joya Independent School District Police Department, honoring our officers for their dedication to the safety, security, and well-being of their students, staff, and community. Their service and commitment do not go unnoticed, and we thank them every day, and today and every day. And thank you very much for your service, gentlemen. Appreciate it.
Good job.
You're very safe right now. Well, I feel safe all the time.
Thank you, Chief. We're probably in one of the safest rooms in the valley right now.
Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and move on to the next agenda item, which is agenda item number 6. Superintendent's update, strategic plan update, and this will be done by Dr. Sorensen. Dr. Sorensen?
Thank you. Okay, excellent. So I have a brief update for the board as we talk about for the Performance Monitoring Oversight Committee. As you may recall, a couple of months ago, Mr. Nagella had come before you and talked about PMOC. And so reminding the community around PMOC, what that is, the Performance Monitoring Oversight Committee. And so wanted to provide the board and the community a formal update on our strategic plan. We have been putting updates out there in terms of where we are with our priorities and our work thus far, but really did want to provide a more formal update to the board and our community in terms of our initiatives and our projects. Again, always starting with the vision and mission, and then the commitment to our North Star goal, confirming our commitment to excellence, and our goals, board goals, and our GPMs, always grounding ourselves in what our outcomes are, which is always academic growth and gains for our students. Our 5 strategic priorities, reminding the board and the community, is excellence in leadership, knowing that across our district, but especially on our campuses, excellence in leadership is a really high priority for us as a district. We know that we are only as strong as our leaders across this district. And that's in central office, that's our campus leaders, that's our teacher leaders, that's our coaches, that's our fine arts leaders, on and on. It's our student leaders. We know how important it is to have leaders across our district. We know we want to have empowered graduates, and that means that we are creating rigorous and meaningful academic and real world experiences for our students, starting in pre-K, making sure that that starts as soon as our students enter the door, so that when they walk across the stage, they have options and opportunities. We also ground ourselves in thriving students, where we will have safe and inclusive and enriching school environments where every student feels supported, valued, and inspired to grow, both in and outside the classroom. That's athletics, that's fine arts, that's UIL, that's every space that our student can thrive. That's also making sure that we are supporting mental, behavioral health, making sure that we are doing multi-tiered systems of support, attendance interventions, counseling, all of the wraparound services that we know that our students and families need in order to thrive. Community trust, unity, and partnership. We are only as strong as our partnership with the community and our parents and our families. And so we seek to continue to build strong relationships with our families, with our staff, and with our community through continued transparency, continued amplified communication, and of course, what was last year's priority number 1, customer service. And of course, operational excellence and financial stability. As you guys saw earlier when Ms. Crespo came here, financial stability, regaining financial promise, and also accountability is incredibly important to you as a board, but also to our community, which also then will lead to operational excellence. How do we strengthen operations, facilities, transportation, all things that we've talked about, but also then grounding ourselves in retaining, recruiting staff, and compensation. So those are our 5 strategic priorities over the next 5 years that we've committed to, that our community, that our employees said they wanted us to work on. And so again, the 5-year strategic plan is built, just reminding people. And then we, as a cabinet and our executive leadership team, people sitting in the back, thank you all for being here. We have a progress monitoring oversight committee, the PMOC. And so the responsibility, reminding everybody of the PMOC, is to monitor initiative progress, balance accountability with support, and provide unifying structures to make sure that what we said we were going to do, we actually do. Sometimes in districts, what you'll find is you have a strategic plan and it'll sit on a shelf. And so what we've done is we've created PMOC to put systems and structures in place to make sure that we are holistically accountable and transparent to complete the things that we told the community that we would complete. And so we've been working behind the scenes. So now we wanted to bring forward what we've been working on in order to establish the cadence the initiatives, the projects to bring forward to PMOC. So PMOC at a glance, again, what the purpose, monthly meetings to keep the district's 5-year strategic plan on track through structured oversight process. There are initiative owners, and there are also PMOC members. PMOC members are cabinet members. And so the initiative owners present monthly at meetings to review their initiatives and their progress, review relevant data, celebrate wins, and also identify challenges. The PMOC members, which are cabinet members, we ask probing questions, we provide feedback, and we discuss problem-solving options in real time. And so each one of the initiative owners is responsible for moving those projects forward and presenting their projects to us as PMOC members in real time. Our job is to support them. Our job is to provide solutions. Our job is to help them see through any challenges that they may have. Our job is to ask the tough questions that need to be asked in order to make sure that we're accomplishing what it is that we promised our community that we would accomplish. And so just again, reminding the community and the board, what are the roles and responsibilities? We have initiative owners, we have committee members, and we have executive sponsors. And so again, also sitting across from me, ELT members, many of them are initiative owners, and we also have some executive sponsors sitting across from me who are also cabinet members. And so I'm going to share with you who are the initiative owners and who are the executive sponsors to date. And so priority 1, which is excellence in leadership, the executive sponsor is Jamie Miller, and initiative 1.1 is Jody Adair and Nydia Ortiz. And initiative 1.2 is Jody Adair and Nydia Ortiz. Initiative 1.3 and 1.4 is Lisa Willis. Priority 2, Derek Little, Empowered Graduates, is 2.1. 2.2, you see Jody Adair, Nydia Ortiz. Initiative 2.2 is Brenda Garcia and TBD, the ED of Humanities. Initiative 2.3 and 2.4 is Melinda Flores. Executive sponsor for priority 3, Thriving Students. Initiative 3.1 is Veronica Chavez. Initiative 3.2, Anna Marie Candelario. Initiative 3.3, Anna Marie Candelario. Initiative 3.4, Joe Nagella. Priority 4, Community Trust and Partnership. Initiative 4.1, Anna Marie Candelario. Initiative 4.2, Robin Darrington. 4.3, Annette Lozano. 4.4, our very own Blanca Cantu. And initiative 5, again, operational effectiveness and financial and fiscal responsibility. The executive sponsor is Joseph Nagella. Initiative 5.1 is SB Pearson. Initiative 5.2, Haisam Mayasi. Initiative 5.3, Jamie Miller. 5.4, Merjet Crespo. And so I wanted to share with you that the roles have been identified, initiative owners have been identified, projects have been identified. Actually, tomorrow, and Cabinet is like, yes, tomorrow. Tomorrow is when we will be approving all projects. And then Friday is the refinement of all projects so that in February we can hold our first PMOC meeting. And so what we will bring to you in the spring are the finalized projects and timelines for implementation of said projects. And so here is just a timeline and reporting flow. So fall 2025, we did PMOC preparation because I don't want to underestimate what it is. And again, I'm just pointing to the ELT back there to teach people about project management. It's not a small task. Right? We all do our work every single day, and you just do the work. To actually think about doing the work from beginning to end and starting with the end in mind, especially something that may be a 3-year project, you've got to really think about, where do I want to be in 3 years? And what are my milestones along the way where I'm tracking and monitoring success? How do I know that I'm meeting success benchmarks? along the way? What's the data I need to collect? What are the actions I need to take? How am I going to track and measure everything that I'm going to do in order to accomplish said task? And so again, building the project teams, building initial project plans, doing goal progress measures, and really gaining a shared understanding of what this work is, we've been working on it for the fall. Because as a team, we have to share a vision for what this work looks like to the level of detail so that it gets done, right? To make sure that it actually happens. And so we're very excited that we're at a space in place where we are at PMOC launch, where projects will be approved by the end of this week. And that in February, we are going to actually hold our first PMOC. And so executive sponsors have been working with their initiative owners to ensure that we are aligned and that we're accountable for what it is that we promised our community that we would deliver on by 2030. Now, that's not to say that projects haven't begun, right? I want everyone to hear that. I don't want the community to think like, so wait, all you've been doing is learning for a semester? Nope. Many projects have already begun. And so I'll use one that just sits top of mind, because I actually was just reviewing some this afternoon. One of Dr. Little's was ensure that high quality instructional materials are developed and implemented. That's an empowered graduates. And so, as we know, that's begun. We are doing everything to make sure that high quality instructional materials are in every classroom across the district, starting with pre-K, throughout grade levels, throughout contents. We're providing professional development. Like, there are multiple steps within there. And so Dr. Little has come up with Brenda, with Jody, with Nydia, with Lisa, right? There's multiple people part of that project, with Myra, like I could keep going, to ensure what are the steps along the way to make sure that that project is implemented with integrity along the way. So again, I just use that as one. I could use one from Merget, I could use one from HISM, right? Projects have begun, but until we have a fully fleshed out project plan that really shows over the next 3 years, as the superintendent, I don't consider the project launched, even though work has already begun. So I just wanted to be really transparent about that. So we will launch our first PMOC in February. And executive sponsors are responsible for working with their initiative owners to keep projects on track. Project identification samples, and so again, I just used one off the top of my head. We've got develop and integrate portrait of a principal. Ms. Nydia, that is yours. And we are well on our way with developing our portrait of a principal. And so that is an example of a template that we use. The project and work stream is to make sure that we have a rock solid portrait of a principal. We have the purpose and description there and key milestones. Initiative 2.4, strengthen college credit and credentialing. Develop robust partnerships with higher education, right? That is a project that Ms. Melinda will be working on. And so again, you see the purpose in the description, and then we've started to identify key milestones. So again, I just want the board and the public to see some examples of how we're starting to think about this. Oops. So again, next steps, initiative owners finalize spring 2026 project plans. Executive sponsors will approve each initiative owner's project plans, cabinet approval. Actually, it will be by this weekend. First PMOC will launch in February. 2 rounds of action, after action reviews in spring. We will also then report back to the board and community in spring 2026. And I cannot forget that HISM will also be launching our strategic plan dashboard that will make all of these initiatives and projects transparent to the community on a public-facing dashboard for everyone to see late this spring. So I will pause here for any questions from the board.
Members of the board, do we have any questions for Dr. Sorensen? Go ahead now.
Dr. Sorensen, so in February, when you have your first PMOC meeting, will we, the board, be getting maybe like a presentation from your cabinet in that month as well of maybe some of these project sample type?
We didn't plan on doing a public presentation around PMOC. It really is a performance management process. You're welcome to attend if you'd like to attend, but it is more of an internal process where an initiative owner and the project sponsor actually walk through their project, and we give them feedback on it. And we ask probing questions, and they walk through their milestones, and it's more of an iterative process on their actual work.
Okay.
So if you'd like to attend as a board member, you're free to do so, but no, there won't be a board presentation on it.
And then when would you said in spring 2026, there would be some sort of presentation for the community and the board. When would that take place?
I don't know the exact date yet, but I would assume that that would be late April.
Late April. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Members of the board, do we have any other questions?
I had a quick one.
Yes, Mr. Sosa.
On the strategic plan dashboard, can you give us a little detail just on that, on what that is?
Mr. Mayasi, do you want to answer that, or would you like me to answer that? On the strategic plan dashboard?
Just an explanation.
Yeah, that would be great.
Thank you.
The question was about the dashboards, right?
Yeah.
And
just-
what we can expect.
Okay, so basically what the dashboard will be is a way for the community to see if we're on track with all the different strategic areas with the priorities. So there's different metrics that we'll be looking at and trying to tie that back into if we're on track, if we're slightly off track, if we're off track, that kind of thing. We'll also house a bunch of different information on there as far as like different criteria that we're trying to meet as part of our priorities as well. Some basic things like our enrollment, our attendance, things like that, those are already be calculated, but some other things will be inputted by the members on here.
Perfect. Awesome.
And
Thank you.
so you'll also be able to see each project,
Mhm.
each initiative, and each one of those projects and initiatives, and if they're on
And then
track.
tracking.
Yep.
Okay.
And
That's
so you'll
great.
be able to see each one of those, whether they're on track, slightly off track. The same language that we use for board presentations will be used on the dashboard.
Perfect. And that's for the community and everybody to see.
Absolutely, and it'll be on our website.
Awesome. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Dr. Sorensen, so will members of the community be involved at any part for this? Like, I was just curious, like your student advisory groups or?
So interestingly enough, I mean, as I meet with my parent advisory, as I meet with my educator advisory, as I meet with my student advisory and my principal advisory, we do one strategic priority a month. And so that is the topic at each one of those advisory meetings, in addition to there's time in every meeting for like just open-ended dialogue, discourse, questions. And so within each one of those priorities, they are guiding which projects, which priorities, which initiatives should come first. They're also giving guidance right now very much on within the strategic plan priorities where they want us to pay attention first. And so it's interesting to hear where students want me to start. And it's also very interesting to hear like where parents want me to start. And there are some spaces where there are just clear similarities across the board where people say like, look, Dr. Sorensen, we really need you to pay attention to this area. But I will tell you, it is not much different than the feedback that we heard last year during strategic planning. There is still a very strong call for us to pay attention to the ecosystem of counseling and student supports. And that was from students, parents, and educators. And so again, a clear priority for all of them. And so that is where that voice really comes in, and the field, just continuing to get feedback from the field on what it is that they need to see from us, more in terms of budget season.
Thank you, Dr. Sorensen. Any other questions for Dr. Sorensen for this portion? Okay, we may proceed. Agenda item 7, Lone Star Governance. 7.1 GPM 4.1 College Ready, TCI Ready Math. Associate degrees, GPM 4.2 Career Ready, Industry-Based Certifications, Completion or Completers, and GPM 4.3 Freshmen on Track. This will be done by Derek Little. Dr. Little?
I was confused for a moment if this was me, but it is. Good evening, board members and everyone. To our goals and our GPMs. Tonight, we're specifically looking at the high school end of our continuum and how we're doing with our goal 4 GPMs. As already shared by the superintendent, these always really underlie the work in pursuit of our vision, obviously our goals, GPMs, but as well as our North Star. So positive news continues in these updates. We're continuing to see some green in these reports. So with our snapshot here, 4.1A, remember, is our TSI results. So that's students passing both reading and math in that college readiness exam. We're slightly off track there. The other 3 are all on track. So that's our progress towards associate degree attainment, IBC completion, as well as our current freshman on track data. So like always, we'll look at each of these independently. Data is organized the same way, so you can see our trend data up in the top left. That red line shows where we were actually in each of the prior 3 years. We right now aren't at our target for this year. That's why we're saying we're slightly off track. We're obviously doing work this semester to close that gap. We're sitting right now at 26, and our target for the year is 31. We also, as always, showing every campus. This is a look at year over year comparison to see how we're doing. And in general, we see that the district overall is slightly better than at the same time last year. So we're trending a little more positively year over year, but we still have 4 to 5 more percentage points to close the gap to where we need to be by the end of this school year. For the next one, which looks at our progress to associate degrees, this one always works a little differently, and I want to name this for you and the community. It is on track right now, legitimately so. We're at almost 12% of students are on track to earn their associate degree. Our target this year is 9.25%. The reason I say this one works a little differently is whereas all of the others can improve over time, this one can only go down over time. As students are entering first day of school back today, as they're starting the spring semester, they have to continue to pass these courses to ultimately earn that degree. So if any of the students unfortunately don't earn that credit and pass that course and don't then meet the requirements for the degree, this percentage may go down. But right now, based on the end of the fall semester, we could go as high as 11.7% depending upon how we do this spring. And then in our IBC data, this one also works a little differently, but in a different way. Remember, we set this target already at the more rigorous, ambitious accountability measure that the state is moving districts toward, which is the completer status. That's the highest level sort of accountability status that a student can earn with industry-based credentials, where I've done the coursework and I've passed the certification exam and earned that certificate or credential. What we're showing here, and last year, this was even more severe looking, and so I had to do some explanation, but I'll provide a quick reminder, is there are many cases with our industry-based credentials that students cannot earn them until later in the school year, meaning they can't even take the certification exam until later in the school year or until they reach 18 years old. So as of December, when we're reporting this data as of, it's not even possible for them to have it in hand. What we see this year, though, is that right now, we have 27% of our students who actually have their IBC in hand. They've earned it, they have it, it's done. That's the pink part of the graphs at the bottom. The blue, though, is the reason we're saying this is on track. Because of the courses students have taken, the courses they're enrolled in, and their grades and passing rates in those courses, the blue shows our potential for the year. So if we keep students passing their courses and successfully completing those certification exams, we would actually exceed this year's target for IBC. So again, that's something in the spring we got to work on to keep students on track, but that's just a little bit of how this works. We're really projecting potential, not as much current earned rate because students haven't had the opportunity fully yet. And then last one is freshman on track. Again, we always want to remind what we mean when we say freshman on track. Again, this is based in decades of research coming out of the University of Chicago, and how we've sort of refined that for La Jolla purposes is we need our freshmen to earn at least 6 course credits. That's by the end of freshman year. They need to have at least 6 credits. They cannot fail more than one semester of a core course. So for example, if I failed English 1 last semester in the fall, I can't fail another core course at all for the rest of the year and be considered on track. Well, obviously, we're going to work with them to go back and recover that failed credit, but that's the max. One semester of a core course. And attendance is a factor here as well. You cannot be chronically absent. So looking at that 90% or higher attendance rate is what we are aiming for. Right now, we are on track for this measure. I'll be totally candid with the board and with the community, like by the hair of our chinny chin chin here. And it really took literally the last week of the semester to get this to where it is. If I reported this to you in mid-December, it would have been red, frankly. But our schools were able to work with students to get assignments in, do some grade repair in the semester to make sure that they actually got over the hump and passed that course. So we are reporting this right now on track. The other two things I want to call out here to what I just mentioned. We have to change our systems and processes, and we're in the process of doing this, to not wait till the last minute at the end of a semester for a student to actually get everything done to be able to pass a class. That's the work that we have to do every day, every progress reporting period, every report card period. And so we're working closely with our high schools to make sure that we're getting much more in front of this rather than just having to respond to some of it at the end. The other factor here on attendance, remember that's one of those three criteria, that's actually the biggest driver of freshmen being off track. So as we look at our students who are not meeting this indicator yet, 2/3 of the ones that are off track are actually off track due to attendance, just not showing up to school. So we have our flex program that we work with them to enroll in. We're doing other things to improve that attendance and chronic absenteeism, and it is getting better. That's part of why this is green, but we still have a long way to go, particularly in our high school space. And then finally, what we're doing sort of in general and both in response to this data, spring semester is a super busy time in the high school space. There's a lot going on, obviously preparing seniors for graduation, but making sure every student is doing what's necessary to finish that year off well and be ready for the next one. That includes us doing student by student audits to know where they are in their college, career, military readiness, particularly from an accountability standpoint, which of those students have met those criteria versus haven't, and then building those intervention and support plans there. That includes looking at transcripts, courses earned, making sure students are in the right pathways for both their degree program if they're in an associate pathway, or their credential program if they're in a career pathway. To the TSI piece, we, again, reporting that slightly off track. There's a lot of things that will happen this summer furthering our preparation for students. So that's after school, Saturday, in the school day, camps and supports as well, making sure students are getting the exposure to the exam, as well as solidifying any actual content knowledge or skill gaps that they may have, which could be preventing them from reaching that. The other thing I would say is, 31% is our target for both reading and math. We are at that target separately in reading and in math. What we really have to do is get the students to be ready to pass the other exam that they've been struggling with to get to both of them. For our freshman on track work, again, we've been partnering with the National Center for Collegiate Success associated with the University of Chicago to help us implement that program. They're actually going to be on site later this month doing some targeted coaching and support with our high school teams. And I'll show you in a few slides a reminder of what those teams actually consist of and who those roles are. And then one of the things for all of our Lone Star updates this applies to, but that we really changed coming into this year, is being much more intentional about having visibility into our data. And so regular reports and updates on how we're doing. We actually are working with schools now for this whole semester where they're doing a weekly update on their campus data. So that's really forcing them and their campus team to understand where all of this is and what they're doing in response. And then for us to be able to support that as well. And then last thing I'll say, and this relates actually to the strategic plan presentation as well, but we're in the midst of, this is like a coming soon moment of really understanding where we need to make improvements and transformation in our career and technical education program and pathways. We've said a number of times in these meetings that we have to sort of overhaul what we have to ensure that our students actually are pursuing high demand, high wage pathways. And so we're actually coming back to you later this spring with what the results of that sort of study and audit are and what that looks like in terms of a multi-year transformation process. And then a few other things that we just want to close out with are the investments that we're making specifically in the high school space. We have shown you this before, and again, continue to be grateful to the board for supporting our broader curricular and academic investments. And that includes things that we have in high school in particular. I do want to note for you in the community, this is not an ask. These are things already in the budget that we're doing, so we're not coming requesting new funding as part of this, but did want to highlight what that looks like, including paying our staff, making sure we have resources in place to support students as they're preparing for and ultimately successfully completing TSI. Multiple things related to the career space and work-based learning and really working to expand what those opportunities are as we're also expanding P-TECH. Remember, next year will be the first year that we're launching a P-TECH pathway at La Jolla High School. So all 3 comprehensive high schools at that point would have P-TECH options for our students. I mentioned the University of Chicago and what they're doing with our freshman success teams. Again, they'll actually be on site in a couple of weeks. And then continuing to do the work needed to ensure that students have access to strong dual credit and dual enrollment opportunities. Part of this includes our new culinary kitchen at Juarez Lincoln, which is awesome. It took a while to get there and get it open, but that's really a best-in-class learning environment now for students who are pursuing a culinary pathway. We'll talk about this in 2 weeks, but if the board approves our school action recommendations and we work on that middle school, we'll have other options just like this where we're building out new programming and new spaces for students to really learn in the best environments for their future options. I mentioned I would share sort of what those teams are in the high school space, and we have 2 slides to do this, and then I'll wrap this up. Obviously, we have our principals and assistant principals, but again, we thank you for making an investment coming into this school year to really expand the ecosystem of support on our high school campuses. So we've had counselors and social workers, but we've layered in our CCMR coaches, really picking up students in that 10th grade space, ensuring that they're getting the focus and support that they need in 10th, 11th, and 12th grade to stay on track for those CCMR outcomes. We also added in the attendance specialists, which are dedicated to each of these schools. Again, student by student understanding of where our children are, if they're coming to school, if they're not, and providing that family by family support. And working with the school to implement their attendance plan to improve those outcomes. We also added, based on direct requests from principals in the spring, a testing strategist. So there is a dedicated full-time person on their team just helping keep track of all the assessments that high schools participate in and helping to administer and proctor those. We've had the CTE strategist in place that continues to be a team member and then gear up at the schools that have that program as part of it as well. And this is the 2nd year we have a freshman success coach. So this is a really robust group of professional level leaders at the campus that are responsible for making sure that we are having progress on these goal 4 outcomes, but really doing it in a way that every student is finding their pathway to success. And we're intervening in the moments that we need to make that happen. Here's just a different way of looking at that, but wanted to name that it's not just a group of staff. We've organized them in a way to make the most impact. So I keep referencing a freshman team. There is an assistant principal. Some high schools, they actually dedicate 2 APs to this. Freshman success coach, counselor, attendance specialist. There's a group of people who are every day just hyper-focused on how their freshmen are doing. There's a similar structure in place for the other grade levels. We have a lot of work to do to continue to refine and improve what that looks like every day. Certainly not gonna pretend that we got it all figured out and it's all working great, but we have made significant investments in resources and people to build the systems necessary to see the improvement that we have to have in our high school space. And so with that, I'll see if there are any questions with this update.
Members of the board, do we have any questions for Dr. Little?
So Dr. Little, can you explain how you said we were having difficulty keeping up with, the college level courses, maybe why it happened or how the course was structured that it allowed the students to maybe know if they passed or failed just towards the end of the course.
Oh, that was related to the freshman on track measure, where again, at the end of the semester really got us over this hump. So hopefully this is an answer to your question in a fairly simple way. Students show up to class every day, they have assignments, they have tests, they have things they need to do. In too many cases, students aren't always doing those in the time that they're required. And teachers aren't always following and keeping track with those grades to inform the student and the parent, hey, you're missing these assignments. So we've typically seen, this is something we're working to change and improve, that there's sort of a mad dash at the end of the semester. Oh, I have to get all these assignments in. Teachers working with students and parents to say, here's what you're missing. And so that's happening in that last week to 2 of school. That ultimately got this data point where it is. My broader point, and sorry if I confused that, is to say we need to make sure that doesn't have to happen because the teacher, the campus team, and the student are all tracking that along the way and actually doing the work on time.
Okay, but the rigor never dropped, right? It was
No,
pretty much
it's still-
catching up to
Yeah.
submitting the stuff.
I appreciate that clarification. Yeah, it's still expectation. Here's the assignment. Here's what's expected. It goes from being incomplete to actually being submitted.
And submitted.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that. I do want to make a note on how I appreciate how the teachers are able to help the students and try to bring them along, tag them along to submit their stuff. But once the students get to college or university level, it all depends on the student. So I know you guys are doing that huge work to try to keep, through attendance and all the counselors and social workers, everything, all the work that you guys are doing, which we truly appreciated. But also to the students, once you get to the university or college level, that pretty much depends on you.
Yeah.
The class is paid, and if you don't pass, that's how it is.
That's
So
exactly
thank
right.
you.
And that's the fun, hard balance in the high school space. You're literally dealing with children still,
Yeah,
but we're preparing for the transition to where those safety nets in many ways go away.
yeah, we're
Yeah.
giving them a lot of support. Thank you for that.
Dr. Little, I know on that same slide, we talk about attendance being a challenge, and the call out is on the freshman class. Are we seeing that with other populations? I'm thinking elementary, middle school, and what work is being done there to help bridge that gap?
Yeah, to our good friend, Mr. Mayasi, and our ability to see into data differently this year. We actually, every week, in data that I share with all campus principals, we have a by grade level heat map essentially of what attendance looks like. So we can look at that by grade level and by building level, like elementary, middle, and high. Elementary consistently has stronger attendance. We're still not where we want to be with that overall attendance or chronic absenteeism, but it is the strongest in general. This literally follows in progression. Middle school is truly in the middle, and then high school is where we see the most struggles. 10th and 11th grade actually typically show the biggest areas of struggle in the high school space. And so that's part of what the attendance specialists, our attendance team here, we're working with schools to make sure that we're having targeted focus on specific students, but also on specific cohorts or grade levels or classes if that shows up in the data.
Thank you.
Dr. Little, so maybe for clarification, because you did a great job on the presentation. I have a hard time seeing what number I am, and probably because my eyesight's going, but on these support roles, are Gear Up coordinators temporary positions, or do they serve another purpose if we don't have Gear Up in school?
Yeah, Gear Up is a grant. So we go through a process with partners to apply for that grant. As long as the grant is funded, we have these roles. If we ever lose the grant, then that would go away.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions, members? Okay, great. Thank you for the presentation, Dr. Little. I know you're going to remain there because you got the next agenda item as well. 7.2 CPM 3 Trust and Transparency Conditions 2025-2026 Comprehensive Enrollment Transfer and Master Scheduling Plan, Strategic Plan Updates, and Survey. Dr. Little?
Yeah, thank you so much. So as I mentioned, there are a lot of things, particularly in the secondary space, that happened in the spring. So we're going to touch on that a little bit as it relates to master scheduling, but also what's happening broadly in the district really in a few days related to preparing for next school year. So this conversation is all about getting ready for next school year and what's happening right now with families in the communities to do that. And it builds on what you actually granted us permission to do at the last board meeting, which is change our policies for enrollment and transfers. So that's FDA and FDB local that we updated in December. That did a number of things, and in a few slides really touch on it, but that helped us really bring those systems together. So historically in the district, enrollment would happen for next year, sort of in this time frame, January, February, maybe into March. And then transfers would happen actually at the end of the year into the summer. And it made it really difficult for campuses and families to plan for what's actually happening with my child next school year. So part of this change brings all of that into alignment, also into the same time frame. And I'll talk about that more as we go along. We requested those changes in the policy, and we've made some adjustments here, again, learning from just past experience. What worked well from an enrollment standpoint, both from our vantage point as well as families and campuses, because there's a lot of end users here. Like obviously the family is the most important because they're deciding to participate and be a part of La Joya ISD, and they want that experience on the front end to be really smooth. But then campuses and district teams, a variety of district teams, have to take action on that information. So we're really trying to streamline and make all of that more efficient for everybody who touches this process. And to my earlier point about data, making sure that we can see how well it's going in the midst of that effort. So we know how many families have completed enrollment for next year, how many transfers have been submitted, rather than just having to wait to the end to see that data. And all of that takes a lot of folks in the district to make that happen across teams. The thing I really want to emphasize about that alignment of enrollment and transfers, so number one, with the policy change, we're actually able to do all of those at the same time. So we're about to ask families, starting on Monday, to do all of their planning for next school year. So that's completing the online enrollment process, saying, hey, I'm coming back to La Joya ISD and here's my updated information. If they are a transfer student or if they're pursuing a transfer, they're filling out that annual request to go through the transfer process. And for our secondary students, they're also telling us what courses they want and need to take for next year. So rather than doing those in 3 distinct buckets and asking families and students to have a touch point 3 separate times, we're actually this year going to combine it all. That really helps Chief Miller and Chief Crespo in particular from a budget and staffing standpoint, because we get all of that data in time to actually influence final budget and staffing as well, which is very important. The other 2 things I'll call out here is we will also provide targeted support to families that need additional support, including specifically our students with special needs. So the locations that they're served, the classroom types that they're in, that requires personal conversation and looking at those student needs in particular. This is one of our commitments through this process, is to improve that support and communication with families throughout this as well. And then the other thing I'll call out, and you'll see this on a timeline in a minute. Right now, it's really focused on students and families who are currently with La Joya ISD, but that quickly turns external to recruiting new families into La Joya ISD as well, which is super critical. We're talking a lot about our enrollment decline, and that's a big piece of our school action considerations as well. 27% enrollment loss in a decade, that's 8,000 students. So we've got to bring folks back into the La Joya family as well and serve and support the ones that we have currently while we do that. In general, there's 4 phases to this process. This first one has really already happened. That was in the fall. That's the policy and process updates. So that's where we're scrubbing sort of what we've done in the past, getting that policy change approved by the board, and prepping for what's a pretty intense sprint in January and February in this space for returning students. So I mentioned that opens on Monday, January 12th. So if you're a current student and family in La Joya ISD, we're going to start asking you to fill out those forms. We are making that as simple and easy as possible. It's done online, so folks don't have to come in person to do it, but we do want to reiterate to our community that they can. Like, we're here to help you do that. If you don't feel like you have access to the technology or devices at home, like, come to your campus, come to our team, and we will certainly help everyone through that process. As I mentioned, that then starts to roll sort of mid-spring into recruitment and enrollment of new to district students. So that could be folks moving in. It could also be us recruiting from other places for students to come to La Joya ISD. And all along the way, we're tracking implementation and progress here to ensure that we're completing the task and getting all of that from families, but we're also keeping folks informed about what this means in terms of enrollment options for next school year. So a couple of milestones to call out. I'm going to say this so many times in this presentation because we want people to know it starts on Monday. So your ability to do online enrollment and fill out your transfer form and counselors and other team members will start talking to students about course selections. That begins on Monday. It lasts for 4 weeks. So we have January 12th to February 6th is the time frame to do that. We'll also acknowledge, as we've shared in our school action conversations, that gives families time to also make decisions about potential transfers if the board approves those recommendations. So there's still 2 weeks after that board meeting, if you approve those recommendations, for us to work with families to get this done and for them to feel really good about where they want to attend next year. The other thing I want to note here is actually in the April and May timeframe, and that's the pre-K registration window. A little unique, but the state actually doesn't allow districts to determine eligibility for pre-K before April 1st. So that's not just for La Joya ISD, that's all across the state. So that real focus is sort of starts in March, but really April and May is a hardcore campaign and recruitment for bringing pre-K students in and making sure that we can determine, their qualification and eligibility for our variety of pre-K programs. Ms. Ramos did a lot last spring and last summer, made herself famous on the news, actually being out, knocking on doors and engaging with families. And that's something that'll come back this spring as well. Because again, that's a big part of our recruitment into the district and building our enrollment over time is earning that trust very early with our families. There's a lot of dates on here. Message number one from that is we've been doing a lot to prepare for this season, including back in December and engaging with the community, sharing information with our current families. For example, if you're a current transfer student in the district, you've now gotten 2 notifications reminding you that that window is about to open next week, so they know that they don't miss that. Much more communication and partnership with Blanca and her team is going to be coming out, including being present. I'll point your attention to the bottom right of the slide, the Saturday outreach supports. We have multiple dates planned where we will be physically out in the community, ready to engage with families, fill out the forms, be there to support them. I mentioned the red piece a couple times, the 12th to the 6th. And then we will obviously be available to support. What we're telling families is, it doesn't matter where you show up, we're going to help you do this. So if you're at home and you need to call us, that's great. If you show up at the campus, somebody's there to help you. If you come to our admission and enrollment center, we're there to help you as well. Folks should not feel confused or alone through the process. We are here to provide support. And in both languages, English and in Spanish, and the applications are in both languages as well. So lastly, to pivot a little bit, even though these are somewhat related topics, just wanted to give the board insight into the engagements that we've done to date related to our school action recommendations. That started back in November when we made that initial presentation and recommendation to the board. We have since spent December going to all 5 of those campuses and engaging with their faculty and staff, engaging with parents and community. We are now in the process in January, what's not on the slide, but to tell you what we're doing now, is doing the same type of engagement at what would be all of the receiving campuses. So the campuses where students would be assigned if these recommendations are approved. We just did one last night at Clinton Elementary. We'll be at Gonzales tomorrow. Both of those are connected to the Pena recommendation. But through the end of December, we've held 13 engagement sessions overall, 7 for faculty and staff, 6 for parent and community. In total, we've had over 500 people attend those sessions. Again, that includes our staff at the schools who are there as well. So we're going to continue those up until literally the day before, the 21st, when we'll come back and make our final recommendation to you for consideration. So that's this part of the update before we get to Chief Miller's section, if we want to pause and see if there are questions.
Members of the board, do you have any questions for Dr. Little? Go ahead, Ms. Jones.
Dr. Little, I had a question regarding these engagements. If I recall correctly, during those engagements that I attended, you had mentioned that the questions that the community asks and the QR code that you provided, they were able to submit some more questions. When would we as a board be able to see those questions or concerns that the community had?
Yeah, our current plan, similar to what we did last year, is when we're giving the presentation to you and the community on the 21st, is we will, in that presentation, sort of state, here are the things that kept coming up over and over as like consistent themes and questions, and provide a clear response from the administration on what we're doing for those. So that'll be part of our presentation on the 21st.
Okay. If I wanted to see those earlier, just to have more time to process the questions and the concerns for the community, would I be able to see those earlier before that meeting?
I mean, we can certainly work with the superintendent and figure out a way to share some of those. And obviously you've heard many of them directly as well. And so I don't think there's any surprises in there.
Okay.
But again, we are transparently going to share with the community in the 21st what that is and what we're saying in response to them.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Members, do we have any other questions for Dr. Little? Dr. Little, I have a question. So if you were king for the day, what were, besides getting a new car, but I'm curious, what could we do or what could districts do to attract people back to a district? Like what is Ms. Ramos hearing when she visits with families? I mean, I'm curious, is it that they prefer homeschool or is it they lack transportation? I'm just curious.
Yeah, I think there's a few broad aspects to that question, President Alvarez. And it does depend on the age of the student. Like when Ms. Ramos and her team in particular are going out to talk to families of 3 and 4-year-olds, there is much more hesitancy about letting your child go to a big scary school. That's sort of how they think about it and how they feel about it. So I think it's us demystifying what that looks like for families and building that connection and trust so that they feel comfortable. And like that comfort word and that comfort feeling is super important for families of young children, particularly if that's their first child coming into school. So that's one, is just really helping folks better understand what we're doing during the day, what that experience is like, and why it matters. There is a tremendous benefit long-term to participation in high-quality pre-K. And so we've got to continue to help message that better to our younger families and talk about the benefits of dual language as well. So that's like part of that story. Later, it often comes, I'm going to say this like I'm stating a fact, and I'm not. This is a general trend, but there's 2 big things. The superintendent actually mentioned one of them in the strategic plan thing. It's trust and respect and how well you were treated. If I feel like you really care about me and my child, I'm going to be there and I'm going to be totally in. If I feel like you don't, or I had a bad experience with you, I'm much more likely to leave and look for somewhere else. So that notion of customer service, excellence, and leadership, like all of those interactions really matter. And as we know, not just here in La Jolla and in the Valley, but everywhere, that word of mouth lasts a long time. So somebody who has a bad experience and goes out there to their community and shares that, that becomes the truth for a lot of people. And then the second thing I would say is, what are the options? Like that certainly has become a much bigger deal in public education. What programs do you have? What activities are available? What is my child going to be able to participate in? Again, not to stick on the school action theme, but like that's part of our recommendation. Like what we're proposing to build at JD Salinas would be one of its kind in the Valley. And that gives families a reason to either reconsider La Jolla or to stay committed to it.
I totally agree with you. I'm glad you stressed that. Members of the board, anyone else? Thank you, Dr. Little. Ms. Miller, you may proceed.
Thank you.
Good evening, President Alvarez, Dr. Swartzen, and members of the board. To build off of what Dr. Little just spoke about, that trust and transparency and customer service, we're going to move into our district plan and the climate and culture survey that we're excited to be launching later this semester. So what is the Culture and Climate Survey. It will be distributed to students, families, staff, and community members because we want their voices heard and we want them to help us drive our work as we're moving through the strategic plan. So staff and educators, they're going to tell us about their satisfaction with leadership, compensation, how they're recognized, and professional growth opportunities that they would like to have. Families are going to be asked about their communication satisfaction. Are we transparent? Are we communicating correctly? Customer service quality, and their connection to their child's school. Students, we're looking to see, do they have a sense of belonging? How is their emotional well-being in our schools? And the community impact, the survey will help us track progress toward our vision of educational excellence as the right of every student. So we're going to have a communication plan. We're rolling this out in English and in Spanish, and we want everyone to participate in order for us to receive feedback as we make decisions moving forward. And so the survey responses are going to help us drive decisions across all 5 of our strategic priorities that you've been hearing about tonight. So what are our goals with our survey? By 2030, our goal is for 80% staff satisfaction with school and district leadership, 80% students reporting a strong sense of belonging and well-being, and we talked about students coming back to La Joya ISD, that's part of it. 80% of our families satisfied with the communication and customer service, not only from the district, but from the campus. And 75% staff satisfaction with compensation, the recognition, and their opportunities for growth within the district. So this climate survey is going to give us actionable data to help us improve the experiences for every student, every educator, every family member, and the community. So, and this is going to be administered annually. So this is our first one, and we're excited about having our first survey, but it will be done annually. So we are doing this on the Panorama platform, and we will have QR codes that will help family members and community members. But the reason we're using Panorama is because we want to ensure that we have a tracking system year over year of our results. So we'll have a longitudinal data analysis. So it allows us to compare results across years, track our growth over time, identify trends, and help us inform our decisions. But it's actually going to be able to give us actionable insights, and results are disaggregated by campus, grade level, our stakeholder groups. And so we'll be able to take this data, analyze it, and it'll help us moving forward. So our questions are research validated, and it's real-time reporting within the dashboard. So once we launch the survey, principals will actually be able to see real-time data. Of course, we'll get our tracking together and get the insights for the board and for the community, but it'll be live, and we'll be able to track how many people are in there, how many people are taking it, and what are the results. So we're very excited to move forward. And we'll be able to benchmark against national data as we move forward. So very excited to launch this this semester, and we'll be pushing for people to be able to get on, and we'll want to ask that you do that too in the community to help us get people to get on the QR code and take the annual survey. Now it's time for questions.
Thank you, Ms. Miller. Anyone have any questions?
I do have
I'm excited about that.
I know, it is exciting, isn't it?
Panorama, is that an application, a software that we're purchasing?
We already have a license for it, and it actually is a software program that is nationally recognized, and we will have national research questions. That way we compare ourselves to the nation of what other parents, what other community members and students are saying, and they will have the dashboard for us, and they'll help us to analyze our results.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Secretary Pena?
Yes, for the goals that were established, were those also kind of based on like historical benchmarks through the platform, or how are those targets defined?
We have not done a survey, a climate and culture survey. So the benchmark will actually be this year. We will set the platform for, where we are, but the goals are, President Alvarez asked, how do we get people back into our district? And part of that is they have to see that we are working with them, that their students have a strong sense of belonging, that our teachers are amazing. We're attracting high-quality teachers that want to stay here because they want to be with their district leaders, and that our families have communication and customer service, and that our community knows that we're working hard to move students forward. And when they graduate, they're ready for what comes next, whether it's going into the workforce or college and career readiness.
And
Go ahead,
do
Dr.
you mind?
Swanson.
And part of that, just so you're aware, these were hot button areas during strategic planning. And so these were areas within strategic planning that came up from community members that they wanted us very specifically to measure as we talked about the annual survey. So just to know like where these specific indicators came from, they came very specifically from community members.
Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Sorensen. Well, I mean, every time I turn on the TV and I look at, I go to YouTube because again, I don't watch cable. But I always watch our YouTube station and I watch Blanca's short clips. It seems like there's always something going on here in La Jolla. So thank you for keeping the folks and the people of La Jolla engaged in what's happening with the school. So thank you for that.
Yes.
Ms. Miller, when you talk about students filling out or being a part of, data that you're collecting, when you mentioned the students on one of the slides, what age level are those students that participate? I'm curious.
So it will be 3rd grade through 12th grade.
Okay.
Yes,
That's really
they will have that, and parents will be informed of what questions students will be asked before they're given the survey.
Awesome. Great.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions?
A quick question that
Yes.
just popped in my mind.
Yes, Dr.
The questions will come from that database that we already have with that software we're using, right? Or we're making specific questions for our population here, our community.
So it will be both.
Yeah.
Some of them may be questions that are generated and modified to meet our population, and some of them are questions that will be specific to La Joya ISD.
Thank you.
So it will be both, yes, ma'am, and it will be in English and Spanish.
Thank you.
One more question.
Oh, yes.
Possible. Would principals be able to add questions to the survey specific for their campus?
No, and the reason behind that is that in order for us to get trends and in order for us to compare to national standards, then we do need to keep the questions the same, but we will have an idea where the where the responses came from. So a parent who goes in will be able to click on the campuses that their students attend so that we do have data showing the campuses, the number of responses for the campuses, and then having data of how, the parents feel, are they connected to the campus, or how the student feels if they belong at the campus. All of that would be segregated by campus, departments, all of that.
Ms. Miller, is it a lengthy survey?
No, sir. So it is not going to be a lengthy survey. We understand that this takes time. We want people to answer the questions, answer them honestly, and for it not to be
Great.
time consuming for them.
Great, thank you. Go ahead.
Ms. Miller, I have a question. You mentioned that I think Dr. Sorensen mentioned that the topics were made from a community involvement in the strategic planning. So then if we're getting data from topics that are specific to our district, how do we use that data to compare it to other districts that their topics might be different? How do we do those? How do we compare nationally if their questions might be different?
Because there are buckets of questions that Panorama has that fall into line with what we are looking for in our survey, what the community said that they wanted to ensure that we're doing correctly. And so there's buckets that they fall in, and we actually get to go in and choose questions that we would like to use and then modify them as needed to fit La Joya ISD.
Okay, so the software provides you already certain subjects and then the district just goes in and, okay, that makes sense. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Any other questions, members of the board? Okay, seeing we have not, thank you, Ms. Miller. Great presentation, again, by everyone.
Thank you.
President Alvarez, if I
Yes.
could just remind the board, just that those were the presentations, and I don't know if we made this clear, that satisfy the requirement for the superintendent constraint for trust and transparency. And so I just wanted to acknowledge that, conservator, as well, because I know that our conservator keeps track of that for all of us. And so thank you, Dr. Little and Ms. Miller, for presenting. But we wanted to bring those reports to the board as well. And I think the very best way to do that is to demonstrate it through the work rather than just the superintendent doing a presentation about trust and transparency, but to actually use the work that we're doing and work that is upcoming to demonstrate how we are working tirelessly to continue to demonstrate trust and transparency to our community in multiple ways.
Thank you, Dr. Sorensen. Next item on the agenda is Joseph. It's our Lone Star Governance Time Use Tracker Report. Joseph, this will be specifically for our last meeting, December 10th, 2025.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Board President, members of the board, Dr. Sorensen. I'm happy to be with you to report on our time use tracker from the December 10 meeting. Of course, our time use tracker stems from our Lone Star governance work, which is a continuous improvement model for our board and our superintendent and the administration, leadership administration, where we work together to focus intensely on improving student outcomes. So our December 10 meeting totaled just under 2.5 hours, 156 minutes. We were highly efficient in terms of making that meeting focused on both adult behaviors and student outcomes at a total of 94.23%. So we spent 147 minutes of that 156 focused on either adult behaviors or student outcomes. Of course, we had the presentation from Dr. Little around local assessment data, which totaled 24 minutes and accounted for our student outcome minutes, and where that accounted for just under 20% of our meeting time. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Members of the board, do you have any questions for Joseph? Joseph, like we've referenced in the past, we really appreciate this report that you share with us at every board meeting. It's very important for us to keep in mind. This is why we're here, and it's obviously for the student outcomes. And I'm glad Deanna's here to hear that. So Deanna, remember that when you give us our grade. Thank you, Joseph.
My pleasure. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's see. The next item on the agenda is our consent agenda item. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, who wants to do that? Mr.
I'll do it.
Sosa?
Yeah.
Mr. Gomez?
I'll move to approve the consent agenda.
I
Okay.
second the motion.
We have a second by Ms. Chavez. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Consent agenda items have been approved. Next item on the agenda, we'll be going into closed session. Closed session will be held for the purposes authorized by the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code Sections 551.001, 551.071, 551.072, 551.074, 551.076, 551.129, and 551.0821 concerning and any all purposes permitted by the act. Do I have a motion to go into executive? And the time is 7:24. We are now in executive. Don't need a motion. Okay, we are back from closed session. It is 8:29 PM. Next item on the agenda is the approval of staffing contracts for the Special Education Department, CSP 2026-27. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve item 11.1.
Do I have a second?
I second the motion.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Following item is 11.2, approval of staffing contract for Special Education Department, CSF 2026-27, Presence Learning. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve item 11.2.
Do I have a second?
I second the motion.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. 11.3, approval of Phase 3 Financial Audit Services, RFQ 2025-12. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve item 11.3.
Do I have a second?
I second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Approval of district-wide secure area fencing, CSP 2026-38. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve.
Do I have a second?
I second the motion.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. 11.5, consider and take possible action to propose non-renewal of contract employee subject to program change reduction in force. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve item 11.5.
Do I have a second?
I second the motion.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Next item is agenda item number 12, which is our calendar portion. January 2026, School Board Recognition Month, as we heard earlier. January 9, 2026, National Law Enforcement Day. Again, thank you, Chief. January 21st, 2026, regular board meeting. Next item is an opportunity for any remarks from the school board or the superintendent. Members of the board, do you have anything to say?
No.
Dr. Sorensen?
Happy New Year.
Dr. Sorensen?
First of all, I just want to welcome everyone back. Happy New Year. Happy New Year, La Joya ISD 2026. Here we are. We're super excited to have you back. I do want to do two things. One, first of all, personally, I want to recognize all of our officers and security personnel. You guys are outstanding. Chief, David, all of the sergeants, I appreciate you so much. You have no idea. You keep us safe. You keep us informed. You work so hard. Because of each and every one of you, we are not only safer, but we are better together. And so I thank you and every single one of our officers and our security personnel for all the work that you do with our kids and our campuses, our families, our community. And so thank you so much. Your leadership is just outstanding. I don't have enough to say. And then secondly, it's not on here, but I feel compelled to say this. January 19th. January 19th. What is January 19th? That is when we start doing map testing. Right, Dr. Little? Yeah. January 19th is when we start doing map testing in our district. And so I really want to say this to our parents and our families and our educators across the district. That's our middle of the year testing. And that's really, really important. It's incredibly important. It is where we benchmark. And I always say, like, dipstick, toe dip, knee dip, to see how we're doing. Where are we at in terms of middle of the year, in terms of our growth, our progress? And so we're going to be sending out a lot of communication to parents, and families, and students, and campuses over the next couple of weeks, building up to January 19th. To let everybody know how important this is. And so I felt like I would be remiss if I did not point out that January 19th, that Monday, we are kicking off middle of the year assessments for our students across this district. And so it's really important academically and instructionally for us to really get a pulse of where our kids are at that point of the year. Thank you, Board President.
Thank you, Dr. Sorensen. Any other remarks from the board? Seeing that we have none, again, Happy New Year to everyone. Before we close out, do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I move to adjourn this meeting at 8:34 PM.
Do I have a second?
I second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. We are adjourned. Good night, everyone.